Hi, I'm Tracy Flickraft, and I'm here with Venture to Impact to talk to you about value proposition in V2I's Guide to Brand and Positioning. Today, we are going to talk to you about what is a value proposition and why your organization needs to spend some time to create value propositions in order to better fundraise in today's current climate, with many NGOs competing for donations and funds and supporters all across the board. So let's jump in and get an idea of what you can do to better position yourself to fundraise more successfully. Let's talk about what is value proposition and define it so you could better understand what you are creating today. The value proposition is what makes your organization special and compelling to supporters. It really is your reason for being. However, it is from the position of your donor or supporter or stakeholder versus what your organization is doing. So it's not a slogan or a tagline or even a way to position yourself in the market. It's definitely not your mission statement. Your value proposition is different from your mission statement because it is created from the audience perspective rather than the organization's. So your donor is going to be able to understand why they should give you money and how it's benefiting them versus what your organization is doing overall. A mission statement often defines what an organization is and does, versus a value proposition, which defines the reason why a donor should support your organization with money or time. So keep that in mind, that while you already have a mission statement, or you should already have a mission statement, you're not just rewriting that, you're actually positioning yourself so that you understand from the donor's perspective what your organization does and what will make them want to donate to you versus another organization with a similar mission. Another question we want to establish and understand is, why is your value proposition important? A value proposition promises value you'll deliver. It gives the primary reason a donor should support your organization, and it defines the first step of telling beneficiaries, donors, or stakeholders what you offer. It goes into more detail of what you can provide to your audience, whether it is a stakeholder or donor or even a volunteer. Your value proposition is something that is going to help you better fundraise, to get more volunteers or to get more supporters for your cause. So it's really important in today's climate, again, as you are competing with more NGOs and more nonprofits who have different missions or similar missions, but are asking the same amount of people to give to their cause. So let's talk a little bit more and break it down what your value proposition means for your NGO or nonprofit. You need to create a value proposition because you want to show your donors why they should give you money. This will also lead to consistency in your messaging. So as you have 5 or 6 different people going out and talking to donors or stakeholders, they're all giving each different individual the same messaging. So you can better brand yourself and position yourself in the market in the long run. It also helps create a sustainable and long-term communication plan. Rather than creating a new campaign or new message with each channel you approach, you're actually going back to your value proposition and creating a communication plan that is consistent and can cycle through many channels over a long period of time, and you're not recreating the wheel with each campaign you create. Your value proposition also sets you apart from other organizations. So you are speaking to your donors or your stakeholders, and you're not necessarily telling them your mission statement, but you're telling why you are different than other organizations, or why you are better at what you do than somebody else who has a similar or like mission statement. So let's get into the steps to creating your value proposition so you can get your hands dirty and understand how you can start creating value propositions. Now, keep in mind, you're going to have to make a value proposition for each of your segments, whether it's your donors, your volunteers, your beneficiaries, your stakeholders, or even your staff. You're going to want a value proposition for each of them because, again, you are thinking through what is it benefiting them. So what benefits a volunteer is going to be different than what benefits a staff member, and that is going to be different than what benefits a stakeholder or donor. So as you are thinking through these next few steps, keep in mind that you are going to have multiple value propositions, and we're going to ask you to focus on donors for the homework portion of it, but start thinking about how you would create a value proposition for all of your segments and all of your audiences. So a value proposition will answer what you do. Why would they care? Again, this is your stakeholder, your beneficiary, your staff member, your donor, or your volunteers. It will also answer what makes us unique as an organization, what sets you apart from another organization with a similar mission. So in this next portion, I want you to grab a piece of paper or open up a new document on your computer, because I want you to start writing out the answers to these questions as we go through them. I'll give you some examples so you can start jogging your memory and your brain so that you can write out great answers to these questions for your organization. So what are all the benefits of your organization? What makes these benefits valuable? What is your beneficiary's main problem? How do you connect your value to your beneficiary's problem? What makes you different than other nonprofits with similar missions? Now I'll give you examples so that you can go through each one of these questions and understand how another nonprofit does it. And we're going to use Venture to Impact as the example, since we all know and love them. So when asked, what are all the benefits of your organization? V2I responded with, we are the connector. We connect and vet skilled volunteers with vetted NGOs around the world that are doing really important work. We are skilled in areas of education, empowerment, and economic development. We have the skills that beneficiaries and partners staff need. We are experienced. We have been impacting vulnerable communities, and we're working with skilled volunteers for many years. So the benefits that they are writing down are around how they operate with volunteers or with partner NGOs. They're talking about the education and the training and the empowerment that they provide. And they are also talking about the experience that they have. So that's going to set them apart from somebody who doesn't necessarily have the years of experience of going into NGOs on the ground and working with them and establishing programs that can help uplift some vulnerable communities. So as you're writing down what are all the benefits of your organizations, don't skimp out, don't cut yourself short, list them all out. At the very end, we'll whittle things down so that you can get a really consolidated value proposition. But at this point, just write everything down. And if you need to add all your benefits for your donors, stakeholders, volunteers, staff, beneficiaries, do it right now. You can separate them out later, rewrite them, consolidate them, and make them really powerful. Second question we have is, what makes these benefits valuable? V2I's examples are connector. We are serving a need that both parties have. NGOs need the training and support but can't afford to pay for it, or they don't know where to access it, or they don't have the time to find it. Skilled volunteers want to use their skills and make a difference. Skilled, the skills we provide grow our partner NGOs' impact and reach. Beneficiaries receive the training and support they need but can't access. The experiences we have learned from the past, we are constantly learning and we make use of what we have learned. So again, the benefits that you listed in the previous section are now what makes them really valuable. Like, why are you speaking to these benefits, and how are they going to be very valuable to your audience? Again, whether it is the donor, the stakeholder, the volunteer, the staff, or the beneficiaries. Why is your benefit so valuable to your audience? Let's move on to what is your beneficiary's main problem. Again, we're going to look at this from all perspectives, whether it's the donors, stakeholders, or staff, or volunteers or beneficiaries, but really have an idea of what your mission is so that you can incorporate that into your value proposition. So V2I's example is often beneficiaries don't have the skills they need to make the changes that will significantly impact their lives. For example, business skills in order to care for themselves or their families. Partner orgs, their staff are overworked. The staff have lots of compassion, but don't always know how to run an organization or have the necessary skills, and aren't aware of the training they need, or they don't have the money to access it. So again, the beneficiaries have several problems. And so if you're able to identify those, write them down, then you're going to be able to position it to your donors and your stakeholders in a way that's going to make them feel like there is a lot of value to donating to you versus another organization. Now, how do you connect your value to your beneficiary's problem? So you have value that you just listed out. You have problems you're trying to solve. So how do you bring those together so that you are showing how you are connecting your value to solving problems? So V2I's example to this question is normally training for the community members and dependent on what the community needs and the attention, care, and encouragement to empower them. So training for partner staff based on their needs, technology, leadership, and business. So again, this is showing what you are offering and then how you are solving the problem of your beneficiaries or stakeholders, donors, volunteers, etc. Now, the fun part, this is really where you have to look in to yourselves, to your staff and your team to show what makes you different. You are different from the next group that has a similar mission statement, whether you know it or not. Now you have to identify it so that you can make it explode and write a powerful value proposition that will make your donors want to donate to you versus the other organization with a similar mission. So V2I answered this question with skilled volunteering training. We're providing value and not taking away from what locals could do themselves. We partner with local charities, NGOs, to make sure that they are addressing the real needs of the community, culturally sensitive and engaged long-term. Also providing a 360-degree development. We care about developing all of the engaged stakeholders, beneficiaries, partner staff, volunteers, and V2I's staff. So they're really talking about, they're not just benefiting one or the other. Everybody who's involved in V2I is actually benefiting. So this is really a unique identifier for Venture to Impact, because some other organizations are only benefiting the volunteers, only benefiting the partners, or only benefiting the beneficiaries. V2I is really pulling everything together. So that is one thing that they're going to highlight in their value proposition. The last one that they have is, we do a lot of work which makes it easier for volunteers and for our partner staff. So they're also talking about providing the programs that are easy to implement. So going into a partner, they're not going to necessarily have to think about how to develop the program. This is another really great unique identifier, because another organization that might be competing for money or competing for support wouldn't have the experience or the program already in place to go into a partner and help them implement a program the way that Venture to Impact does. So keep that in mind if you are writing out your question of what makes us different. Those things that really make you stand out compared to other organizations is what you're going to want to include in this portion, because those are really what's going to drive the funds and the donations from donors that you're urgently needing to get your hands on. So think about all the ways that you are different and how you can position yourself a little bit better than another organization who doesn't have the experience or the skills that you do have. So now, what makes a good value proposition? Let's talk about this. You have your questions listed out. You have your answers to those questions from above. So now how do we organize them so that they can be very powerful and help your organization stand out when you are presenting your value proposition to stakeholders? So qualities of a powerful value proposition is clarity. This means it's easy to understand. You can tell it to a donor in 30 seconds or less. They understand, they don't have a lot of questions, they know what you do, they know how you help solve problems, and they know what makes you different. It also communicates specific results. So it's not a lofty long-term idea that can't be executed. It communicates what you do and shows how you do it with actual results. It explains how you are different and or better than competing organizations. You're not that same organization with a similar mission statement. You are actually different and you are better because X, Y, and Z. And it can be read and understood in 5 seconds. Now, obviously, we want it to be thorough, so you're not going to have 2 or 3 sentences, but you're going to want to have something that is powerful, but easy to understand with clarity and can be read in a short period of time. Now, we talked earlier about creating multiple value propositions. And the reason you want to have multiple value propositions is because you have different stakeholders and donors and volunteers that are helping. These individuals don't necessarily care what another audience is needing in that value proposition. The specific segment that you're speaking to is want to know what benefits them. So if they are a donor, they're going to want to know if they give you money, how are they going to be benefiting? If they are a stakeholder and providing you with support, how are they going to benefit? If they're a volunteer, how are they going to benefit? So we're going to do the final homework assignment, and I want you to focus on donors. While you'll be creating multiple value propositions, what we're going to ask for you to return is one that is focusing on the donors. So let's talk about where would your value proposition be placed in the different ways and channels you're communicating. So website is a great place to put your value proposition, and I'll show you some examples of what that may look like on a website. Another one is through email. So if you're sending emails or social media content to your audiences, what would it look like to include a value proposition there? Because that is a good place to include it. And then with printed materials, how would you place a value proposition in those materials so that your audience can read and understand your VPs or value proposition? So on your website, I have two examples that show really good value propositions. The first one is Red Cross. As you can see, it's on their main page. It's clearly written. There's bold font to say you can make a difference. So that gives that donor a feeling of, I am doing good. I am doing something that is going to make a difference. So I want to donate. And then right below it is that call to action. So not just you can make a difference by clicking through our website and reading up on things, but actually you can make a difference by donating now. So keep that in mind when you are putting on your website. You do want to have that call to action so your audience can make that connection of what you are offering and how they can participate in that value. The other one is the Oregon Humane Society. They are wanting you to create a more humane society. They are doing that by offering you 3 different ways of creating a more humane society. You can adopt, you can donate, or you can help with a specific cause of wildfire relief that has been affecting the Pacific Northwest of the United States right now. So the Humane Society is showing on their main page in clearly written font that is bold and stands out, and then offers you 3 different ways to participate in donating and to showing that you support them and contributing to making the world a little bit more humane. So some ideas for you and your organization of where you could place your value proposition on your website and how you should do it. The other one is through email. So if you're drafting emails, whether it's a written email like Wikimedia, or if you are doing content blocks and providing a service or product for sale, you could do it like what we have at the Organic Savannah. So understand that the value proposition surrounds context of the email. So within Wikimedia, it really talks about what they are doing, what their value is, and how they're solving the problems of their stakeholders, which is creating a free and open internet. It's also talking to you about the other options within that foundation or that organization that can help with that problem. So they're giving you some additional context, but right in that opening header, they're giving you their value proposition of, we are keeping the internet open and you can help by watching this live event this week, donating, etc. Now within Organic Savannah, this is a nonprofit organization that provides a product to people. So they are providing a product versus a service. Now, their value proposition, while they're trying to sell an item, their value proposition is right below that shop call to action. And it shows you that things are locally sourced by women in Kenya or Uganda. So they're showing you their value proposition as supporting evidence to why you should buy their product. This is really a unique idea because they're saying, hey, you could take action by buying this product. And the reason you should buy this product is we are locally sourced, so that you could feel good about what you're buying and know that you're helping women in Kenya and Uganda. Other places to include value proposition in emails is really providing links to our story or our values, which would take the reader back to your website to learn more about your organization and understand the value proposition on a website, so you can go into more detail, especially if you're writing an email that it doesn't necessarily make sense for you to have too much information about your value proposition if you're selling an item like Organic Savannah, or if you're advertising an event like Wikimedia. You don't want to spend too much time on that value proposition, but the audience may want to learn more. So give them that option to read up about your story or your values and take them to a page which shows your value propositions on your website. So now on printed materials, I found a vitamin shop that wanted to talk about providing probiotics to children or to infants. And I found this printed material very helpful to show value proposition because it uses it in the frequently asked questions, or the FAQ. So if you're ever wondering why probiotics is important, it tells you right here in that top portion. But then it goes into that value proposition of what does Tiny Tummies do differently than other probiotics. So they're really showing you supporting evidence of our product is better than another product or another item because X, Y, and Z. So when you are thinking about how can you position your value proposition in a printed document that maybe doesn't make sense for you to have it bold and coming through on every single page, you can get creative and think about where you could place it so that you're supporting why a donor, why a stakeholder, why a volunteer would want to support you versus another organization. Now, with all that being said, we've given you a lot of information. We've given you ways to write a powerful value proposition. We've given you some ideas of how to write it. We want you to jump into the provided document that we're going to be sending out so that you can start putting it into a very short, understandable set of sentences so that it can be presented to your donors very quickly. So you'll get an attached document, and I will put it up on my screen now so that you could see it. So this document is creating your own value proposition for donors. It is essentially an ad libs method of creating it. You've written down all those answers to the 5 questions I gave you during the presentation. Now I want you to take those, look at them, read through them, rewrite them, consolidate them, expand them, whatever you need to do. And then when you get done and you feel good about those answers, come in here and start writing out our ad lib method of creating a value proposition. So you'll put in the words or the few words that really answer the question of what makes you different, what are you providing, and how are you providing it that would support a donor giving you money over somebody else. So this document is going to be a quick and easy way for you to start brainstorming ideas to get you to a place where your value proposition is something that you could post on your website, send through email, or get printed in flyers or brochures so that you can start sending it out to donors. With that being said, I'll let you spend some time on this. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Brianna and she'll support you with whatever you need to get this value proposition in a place where you feel good and you can expand it and start delivering it to your audiences. I'll be back next week with some more information on creating segmentations for your audiences, and then journey mapping for them so that you can speak to them in a strong communications plan. So I hope you have a great week, and I hope you start working on that value proposition so that you can start fundraising as soon as possible. Have a good one. Thank you.